Welcome back, everyone, to Lives with Miranda. I am super excited. We're going to be having Breonna Pinto on today, and we are going to be answering the burning question of, is a DIY rehab duplex worth it? DIY is a great idea. I mean, it can save you so much money in the long run. There has its ups and downs, and Breonna is going to take us through all of it. I'm super excited to have her on. I'm going to add her on social media. There you go. All right. I just sent you the invite. Oh, there you are.
Good
Welcome.
morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Oh my gosh, I always have to adjust this so it zooms in so much.
Oh, exactly what I'm doing too.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm super excited to have you on, and everyone's.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me.
I feel like I've been watching this duplex journey from the very beginning when you started sharing in your stories and showing the videos of all the cockroaches and stuff. So it's been really cool to just see like you throughout the entire process and to finally see it come like the oh my gosh, I just the result of all of your hard work and dedication and everything, and I'm just so excited. So if you guys are already following her, make sure you go do it because she really takes you to the behind the scenes in her stories. So I'm really excited for your next one.
Thank you. Yeah, no, this one was a doozy for sure.
Well, do you want to start out by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in real estate investing? No, did it freeze? I think it froze. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. All right, let's see. Bring her back in. Technical difficulties, everyone. Hang in there.
Is it
There you
connected?
are.
There we go. Sorry, I was like, what happened? It completely shut down. There we go.
It happens. Technical difficulties. This is fine.
Yes, exactly.
But yes, go ahead and start off by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about how you got started.
Okay. So I'm Bree. I am actually in North Carolina now, but I originally got started. We moved from Colorado here, and that was last summer, and that kind of started the ball rolling on real estate investing and whatnot. We kept our primary home back in Colorado when we moved here and converted that into a rental. And that's kind of what started the whole, oh, okay, let's try this out, see what we can do. And now it's where we're at today. So it's been pretty crazy. It's been a short time, but pretty crazy.
Yeah. So why from Colorado to North Carolina?
So my family primarily is all in Colorado. I'm from Colorado. I'm a native. My husband is from Florida, and he's lived in Colorado for a while, but he misses his beach. He misses his family. His family's on this side, so we kind of compromised, move here, so he can be closer to his family. And then my family ended up following me out here, anyways. So be closer to family, and honestly, the real estate out here is not as crazy as in Colorado. Pricing is kind of insane, and for our growing family, we needed to make sure we had a suitable house along with suitable schools and extra things like that. And we were just kind of getting priced out where we were in Colorado. So came out here and have more space and less
Mm-hmm.
stress. And it's a much slower pace than Colorado. So it's
I
nice.
love that. I mean, I love that you kind of like built your real estate portfolio around your life, not the other way around.
Yes.
It's like you chose North Carolina not just because of the statistics and the growth in the economy and stuff, but you chose it for personal reasons, family reasons, and then you just thrived from
Yeah,
there. And I feel like that's where people
exactly.
and I feel like that's where people a lot like make mistakes. It's like they try to go where like the best numbers are showing, but it's like if you're not going there for any other reason other than that, I feel like that's where they have a difficulty time, especially when they hit as many challenges as you did. I feel like being there for personal reasons and much stronger reasons than just that the economy looked good
Mhm.
is what I mean. Tell me if I'm wrong, but did it help you kind of get through those challenges and having that support system?
Oh yeah, I mean there would have been no way this would have happened if I hadn't had my support system here. Between my sister watching my kids because of
Mm-hmm.
course this majority of the renovation happened during the summer, so all my kids are out of school,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot when you have three kids.
You're a super mom.
Um,
I don't know how you do it.
and that's the thing is I couldn't. There's no way I could do it just by myself. So between, my sister watching the kids, my husband being here, my husband's family also kind of, whenever they're visiting for the summer, kind of took the brunt of summer vacation, which was good. I didn't have as much. I mean, there's definitely still mom guilt. Don't get me wrong. Like, all my kids think of summer as working on the duplex, which is a little bit of a bummer. But I mean, at the end of the day, that they got paid, so they're happy. My oldest one is actually like an official employee now. So he does all the landscape and the yard work. So he got to, brag that he has an actual job. And, we were able to open up his a Roth IRA and all these like big kid stuff. So he was happy about that. But there would be no way without having my support system here, I would have even attempted, to go down this route of, especially as so much of a DIY renovation.
I love that. And so what made you go this DIY route rather than go the turnkey route?
Budget.
Okay.
Like, straight up, that is it, is the budget. The way this property kind of fell into me is it was by a wholesaler. So if you don't know anything too much about it, there's a very short window. It's not like traditional home buying where you have, your inspection and 30 days and yada, yada, yada. Like I had, from the minute I signed papers to the day I closed was 2 weeks. That was it. And with there being tenants in there, I was only able to see the property once. There wasn't any formalities behind it. So, we didn't really understand the entirety of the scope that was needing to get done until after we closed and after we got the tenants out. And then we discovered so much more than what originally was supposed to relatively just be cosmetic. I got quotes from contractors early in the game for what we thought visually, like they walked through with it, they wrote up their quotes, and then it just doubled and almost tripled depending on the contractor after the fact, after we're finding all of these disasters everywhere else. So we ended up having, just like I said, out of pure budget, having to do the DIY route. My husband and I don't come from money. The way we've gotten into investing and whatnot, we've kind of saved and built up, and a lot of the equity on our primary house in Colorado, we were able to pull out a HELOC. And a lot of that is kind of what we were able to do and kind of roll into our properties. And I mean, as it is, we blew the budget quite a bit, even doing a DIY. But I think if we had hired it out fully, everything, we are looking at like $150K renovation. And that just simply was not in the cards at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then with your mindset though, why go through the process of doing the DIY rather than turn around and just like maybe wholesaling it yourself to someone else?
So, there was definitely, those two thoughts were constantly a battle, especially as we kept getting deeper in the rehab. I was like, my husband's like, this is ridiculous. Let's just dump it. Like it's not worth it. It's insane. And part of me is, a lot of me is really stubborn in the fact that like, I am the driver of this like real estate investing, right? I'm the one who runs all the numbers, the monies, everything like that. And a lot of it somewhat was pride of like, I knew this was going to be a big challenge and I don't want to fail. The mindset of in every failure, there's something to learn, and might as well take the biggest bite out of this now and learn all these lessons now versus spreading them out over 5-6 years and then going at a much slower pace. That was my personal mentality of it, of just take it on, see what we can do. Like, I understand, I've never done any of this before. Google it, YouTube it, ask people. Like, I'm very a self-sufficient person, and so is my husband. And that's just, it was honestly the argument every day waking up of like, I'm just going to burn it. I'm going to burn it to the ground. And it's hard because it's cinder block. Like, it was a true consideration, but it's cinder block. It would have burned. And even the neighbors were asking like, oh, I thought you would just demo it. I thought you would just, get rid of it. And I'm like, yeah. Like, there was a lot of self-doubt throughout the process of just like, what the heck did I do? Like, what did I do? And luckily we came out ahead, but it was touch and go the entire, 8 months it took. So
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so take us back to, and guys, we're gonna go over the numbers and everything too.
Yeah.
So it's hang in there. But can you start from the beginning and tell us a little bit about what this project looked like and why so many things popped up later on?
Sure, sure, absolutely. So, kind of like I mentioned, so it's a cinder block house, which is great. You know, we really didn't have to worry about termites, stud issues, etc., right? But that being said, it looked like a complete prison. And they did not have any HVAC, which we knew. They just had window units, but everything else mainly looked cosmetic. Okay, new roof, okay, new paint, new kitchen, appliances, etc. And the way the duplex is laid out, so in total, it's about 1,600 square feet. So there's two units that are about 800 square feet a
Mhm.
unit. So it's small, it's smaller for sure. So, calculating the renovation based on the square foot wasn't going to be too bad, just purely off of size itself. Originally, we were looking at a reno of about 50K. So, okay, brand new paint, brand new flooring, all new cabinets, appliances, bathroom. Everything had to get gutted, but there really wasn't that much to be there in the beginning. And then with it being smaller, instead of doing a traditional HVAC system, we were going to do a mini split system, which is again a little bit on the cheaper end. So overall, went in the mindset of, okay, about 50 grand, give or take, and kind of go from there. And I acquired the property at the end of December. The tenants didn't fully move out until February. So I was already in about 2-ish months, a month and a half. And that's when we started like pulling everything up, all the carpet, all the stuff we thought, okay, not a big deal. This is just how it is.
Mhm.
The one thing that completely threw us off was how bad condition that 503 side is, which is where the cockroaches were,
Mhm.
right? We knew when I did the walkthrough that there was obviously bugs and dogs and whatnot, but we didn't fully understand the depth of the damage and just how much grossness there was. Once we pulled it out, and I say we very lightly, I was not in there. That was my husband, and I did hire a neighbor to kind of get in there and get as much out. I wasn't there a little bit, but it wasn't like immersed in it for me pulling those things out. But we realized like even the window units, they were completely rotten and eaten up. There was so much gunk just on the windows themselves. We didn't realize half the windows were plexiglass at all. So that was another thing we had to step back. Okay, we got to get new windows for some of these windows. And then as we started trying to figure out, okay, let's figure out the layout of the kitchen. It was a real crapshoot before. It made no sense. So we started kind of tentatively moving things around, and that's when I got my plumber in. And something wasn't working. They're like, this isn't working. We got to check something. And on the 503 side, what we ended up finding out, and this is after spending thousands of dollars, because I first few plumbers came out, couldn't figure it out why we couldn't even get the hookups working. We went through like 3 or 4 different people. We ended up doing a sewer scope, and come to find out that this home's older for starters, and there's this thing in the sewer piping called Orangeburg, and it's basically like fiber. It's not like super solid, but it's like a mesh fiber. And over time, that deteriorates. Well, apparently, that deteriorated on the 503 side. And instead of them fixing it, what they decided to do instead is smash it open in the ground and then cover it up with dirt and basically let it be a leach field. So all of the sewage was just in the ground in the front yard, just spewing wherever underneath the grass and everything else. And that was never disclosed, and that should have been a massive disclosure in general. But B, that was a huge thing too, why we kept having so many pest issues, because we had the house treated like 4 or 5 different times for the roaches, but we kept having just this nastiness with it. And since they destroyed that sewer pipe completely and just leached it out, we obviously needed to get the whole thing repiped through. And that was a $6,000 hit that we weren't accounting for. Um, the other part of that is there is no basement. It's just a slab. So in order to get through anything, you have to jackhammer the entire floor to even get underneath where the pipes are. So that put us back on time and money in that aspect of things. And then as that was going on, we were still having issues with the water of there's no pressure, something's going on. I'm not sure what they did on both sides. They kind of like jerry rigged the piping, like there would be random like PVC to foam. It was bizarre, and they ended up having to replace all of the piping, which was really hard because it's cast iron. Because this is an older house, so they had to take everything out, all new PVC and everything else. And so I think overall in plumbing, we ended up spending $10,000, if not a little bit more. And then the second hit was the roof. So we had a tornado come by in February, and it pulled up a good chunk of the roof off. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I have insurance. Like, we'll just use that. And come find out when my insurance was doing their due diligence, they're like, well, no, there's already a claim out. I'm like, I haven't done anything. Well, apparently there was a claim that the homeowners took last July or whatnot. And they got approved on their claim for a full roof replacement. However, they decided to just pocket the money and not get it done. So, yes, so which is not a thumbs up. Because of that, no insurance. I couldn't claim it again because nothing had been fixed in that claim because they had the previous pictures, even though there was no damage. Because there's nothing fixed in the previous claim that was already approved and paid out, no one was going to pay for jack. So I had to pay for a new roof out of pocket. I mean, it had to be replaced no matter what. It was already older and with the tornado and the shingles and everything. So that put us back another $7,000. So that's another $17K in the hole. And it just, kept happening and rolling after that. Windows had issues. We had to get new sills. We had to get new doors. All the door hinges on the interior were welded to the frame. So we had to get custom things figured out. And it just didn't end. But those two are the biggest ones that put us back a good chunk of our renovation that we ended up just having to just DIY to kind of catch up and save as much as we could.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's a lot.
It was a lot. And it's stuff you don't really even hear of. So it was
crazy.
insane.
So, well, first, going back to the first thing you said, the tenants, did you expect them to stay that long?
No. And, they didn't even know the owner was on the house or the landlord at all. When I went in for like my pre-walk inspection, they just thought it was a normal inspection, not necessarily having to do with buying. They just thought, oh, it's inspector, just double check. The landlord's checking in on everything else. They had no clue he was even listing it. And this is the week before Christmas. Like, I closed the 28th, and I got to tell them for Christmas, Merry Christmas, you're getting kicked out. I don't know what to tell you. And both tenants were month to month, and both tenants did not have a lease in hand at all. So technically, I could have kicked them out. Like, okay, that's a bummer to be you. You need to be out in 15 days. But obviously, I'm nicer than that. I'm not a slumlord. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. He should have told you, he was selling the property. I understand it's going to be, difficult. I gave them initially the 30 days, like, look, I can give you 30 days, but there is no lease in place. There's nothing going on. And I mean, the big reason that I wanted to stay is they were only paying, the one side was only paying $650 a month, and the other side was paying $600. And to kind of put that in perspective, I have one side right now rented out for $1,375. Wow. So it was significantly, and I mean, for the condition, I guess it would match because it was horrible, but it wasn't livable, between the smells, everything. Because obviously the roaches on the one side bled onto the other side because they were everywhere. And so that was a hard part of like, I'm sorry, the big thing is like, they can't find housing for that because that's simply just anything comparable is at least 1,200 over here. That just is what it is. So it was a decent pushback of like, well, I can't find a place or I can't work or, there was a lot of pushback in general, which was to be expected a little bit, but I wasn't expecting, especially the roach side, how much pushback of him not wanting to leave because it was seriously uninhabitable. Like you would have to go in there in a hazmat, and it was
sad.
It was so sad. I mean, this guy is disabled. I went over there. I talked to both of them for a while, and he doesn't have family. His wife died years ago, but he is in clear need of help. And there's didn't seem like there was much of a support for him at all, if any. You know, his it was horrific, honestly, and especially going into a new year where you're, with Christmas and everything else, and there just wasn't anything. And so that was really hard to kind of get him out. I kept giving him resources. I brought over trash bags, the entire time while I'm waiting for him to get out. I'm texting him like every other day and talking to some people, trying to get in touch with the state and trying to get in touch with Section 8 and trying to get in touch with all this. And here in North Carolina, Section 8 has been closed. The list has been closed for it's going to say for about 2 years because the list is that long. So it's not something that's, there's not housing ready to go for anyone. And it's kind of ridiculous to even get a hold of anyone in that department in general. So that in itself of getting the tenants out was more mentally draining than I feel like this entire reno, just because, especially when you get to talk to them and understand the situation and see how hard it is to get through all the hoops and constant, bureaucracy to even get to someone or to get anything was exhausting because, I took on their problem because I needed them out so that I can finish my issue, but knowing that that wasn't an easy option made it really, really hard to just be like, how does this person okay living like this, and how was there no help to fix it? So that was the hardest part of getting them out and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. If I remember correctly from your live with McKenna, though, you ended up finding him a place, right?
Yeah. So there's a place not too far, and I ended up talking. She runs um, not exactly Section 8, but it is specific to those disabled and or 55 plus. And I ended up talking to her, and she owns it's like a 10 unit or something. But it's really nice because they do have a nurse on staff. So specifically to those who can kind of somewhat live on their own, but still need those check-ins. It's not like a hospice or anything like that. But, I did talk to her quite a bit because there were some delays getting him out and all of his stuff. He was a hoarder, but with it all being roach infested, she wasn't taking any of it. And that was really hard for him mentally because, again, being a hoarder, that usually derives from some mental issues in life. That was really, really hard for him. And, it was a lot of me and her going back and forth of like trying to figure out a game plan, trying to figure out what we need to do to get him shifted into where he needs to be. So it took a lot of back and forth. It took him a while just to find her. I called so many people, but we were able to get that figured out. And now he's in a place where he can be looked at and has a lot of, helpful resources for him.
You're incredible. you you're not just investing in real estate, like you saved his life. Like you changed it forever. I mean, you did what many people wouldn't do. So thank you for doing that. Because that's incredible, really.
Thank you. I mean, I don't know. It was such a hard situation. Like that in itself kind of took a toll on my family, seeing the condition that people are okay with living in.
Yeah.
And it was just a good reminder of humanity. And I don't know, especially with it being around Christmas and New Year's and all this happening, it was,
Yeah.
it was good to do the right thing.
I mean, with as many things that were being thrown at you, it really sounded like you handled it so well. And even like when most people feel overwhelmed, you just kept chugging through and they kept like lighting a fire under you. Something kept you going, whether you
Yes.
said it was pride or it was just pure motivation or just wanting to like help him. I mean, something kept you going. And thank goodness it did because you ended up with a beautiful duplex and it changed someone's life forever. So I mean, as crappy as the situation sounds that you went through, it really sounds like you, I don't know, like you created a miracle and also came out with a beautiful duplex. So, I mean, people really say, it rains and pours, and there's a rainbow.
Yes.
So, you
Yes.
created your own rainbow.
Yes. No, you're completely right.
And then back to the roof. So,
Yeah.
the roof, is there anything that you could do, I mean, legally wise, that was not disclosed ahead of time with your insurance or with the seller?
Right. No, not at all. So legally, I technically could have gone after them and sued them for a lack of disclosure, especially because that was a clear and obvious they deposited the check. It wasn't a, oh, we forgot type of situation. Legally, I could have, and I did talk to a couple other investors in the area of like, hey, is this even worth trying to go after and whatnot? And it just kind of boiled down to it wasn't worth taking on more mental stress compared to
Mm-hmm.
everything else that was going on. And it wasn't going to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what the roof needed to get done, we got hit with a couple hurricanes at the beginning of the year, which when I mean hit, it's not necessarily like what you think of a hurricane. We get all the rain and the wind afterwards. So, we had power lines go down literally right in front of us. We had trees go down, stuff like that. So we had to get a roof ASAP,
Mm.
no matter what. And that was kind of just like where I had to bite my tongue and be like, you know what? I could pursue this, but it is not important right
Yeah.
now. What's important is we have a massive liability that we are constantly paying on, and I have no way to see this out. Like, I am so deep in this hole, there's no light.
Mm-hmm.
And going after that right now isn't going to get me closer to the light, if that makes sense. But I totally could have
Yeah.
because, yeah, it wasn't disclosed. I talked to my real estate attorney. There's nothing in the notes. And even then, um, could have technically gone after with the sewer as well because that was my force is clear and obvious. They smashed the crap out of it because they didn't want to fix it. And even the tenants, had always say whenever they complained about anything, the landlord either didn't do anything or it was kind of some janky way of fixing it. So it is what it is what I kind of mentally came to the conclusion of.
Yeah. Yep, you only have so much control over things, and unfortunately, not everybody has much integrity as you. So,
Yes.
there's the word slumlord does come from somewhere.
Yes, exactly.
So
Exactly.
sad. So, you faced a lot of challenges, and it sounds like the tenants were the biggest, like, mental challenge that you had, like
Mhm.
physically, like, mentally draining and stuff. As for the property itself, what do you feel like the biggest challenge was? Was it the cockroaches or something else?
You know, I would say it's a combination of the roaches itself and not understanding how much mental load I have to put on others for this to come through.
Mm-hmm.
I and I there's a flag in my garage. I actually had it up here that one of our friends sent us, and it says like if this we're not doing this because because it's easy. We're doing this because we thought it was easy. Because I always, have the mentality of, oh, it'll be fine. Like, oh, just Google it on YouTube. It can't be that hard. Um, and that really took a toll on my husband and my family because it required me to lean on them a lot, a
Mm-hmm.
lot, a lot. And with everyone else still working, I mean, I was a stay-at-home mom, so I was still with my daughter, but I mean, that's a 1.5-year-old.
Yeah.
It's not like you can just park them in front of TV.
Right.
We've got nap time. She's busy. She's crazy. And I not understanding the full depth of how hard I would have to lean on so many people and how it
Mhm.
would affect them, I think was the biggest challenge with this property. Because, between childcare and having my sister watch my daughter, who is insane. My daughter's nuts. She's a typical third child. Um, versus like, just having for the physicality part of it, my husband took so much of the brunt of the work, if not all of it. Constantly
Mhm.
like pulling out cast iron tubs, smashing off
Mhm.
the different doors. Like, there's no way I could do that. No way. And we didn't have the budget to hire it out because we just didn't.
Mhm.
Um, I think that was the biggest heaviness that came from the project is
Mhm.
just having to put their load on other people and
Mhm.
not realizing how much that load would have ended up being.
Right. It's it's not only more time consuming, but definitely the mental load, I
Yes.
feel like, is where people it just sneaks up on you with DIYs.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
I mean, thank
Absolutely.
goodness for YouTube, but still, it's
Yep.
not as simple as they make it.
Yep. Exactly.
Which is
Exactly.
why I'm grateful for you because now you're online and like literally from your stories, I was just like, oh my gosh, I could never step inside of that place. I think remember were you suiting up in like this whole like one like
Yes.
white like I don't know suit and like entering into the cockroach space. I was like, I don't know if I can do that. But
Yeah.
it was,
Oh yeah.
yeah, that was crazy. But it was really cool watching the whole process. So knowing what you know now and everything that you went through, one, would you go back and do it again, or would you cut your losses at the beginning? And two, what do you feel like your biggest like lesson or takeaway is from all of it?
So, I've kind of had two different thoughts on this, especially because I did run the numbers and I'm kind of looking at it now. Numbers, like statistically wise, yes, I would do it again. Numbers end up working out great. It ended up creating another opportunity. We'll kind of go over that later. But mentally, I think no. I think this was so hard on me mentally and my family. And, there's still so many repercussions afterwards. Granted, there's still good things. It's not all negative, but mentally, I don't think I would do this. I think I would have just either wholesaled it or just skipped it entirely. And I think, I was able to identify the drive of why I had to go through it, and a lot of it stemmed from me being in a new place and feeling alone, and that I don't know what to do. Like we had just moved 2 months prior, and there was just, I didn't know this area. My family hadn't moved out here yet. It was just me. So a lot of this project essentially was dealing with issues in my personal life. But now obviously recognizing that and figuring that out, I definitely wouldn't do it mentally again. It was way too much, no way. No, but like from a number standpoint, yes, and if it was not if I knew the stuff that I knew now, I could have shifted it and made the numbers work a different way. But all the surprises throughout the project really kind of nosedived it into despair, if that makes sense. And it was really hard to kind of mentally get out and recover from that.
Yeah. And so the project, I know it's October now, right? It's October. And you said you bought it in December. So I think at one point mentally, like when were you supposed to be done? And then like I guess when you kept going, kind of what kept you through like when you kind of were down in the depths, what got you to keep going at that point?
Sure. So originally we were supposed to be done by April, May. Like that was okay, giving them a month. The rehab itself originally was only supposed to take 2 months. We weren't pulling permits. We weren't changing anything structurally. It should have just simply been cosmetics, new switcheroos, stuff like that. But that was with the mindset that they would be out the end of January, which they were not. It took another month to get them out in February. And that automatically kind of pushed us a month. And then with everything that happened, I ended up having to get 3-month extension on our hard money lender to get us all the way through to finishing it. And honestly, the drive at that point, we already had started it and it was already empty. So I could kind of see the vision by March, April. But then when things started getting really, really tough, it was a hard battle because I knew, okay, I started this project, especially like with my kids and my family, as kind of a growing learning opportunity. I wanted my kids involved. I wanted them to, learn about hard work and show them the power of transformation and show them the power of patience and pushing through, right? So a lot of it was mentally, okay, I can't give up now. I started this project as a family. I wanted them to show that we can push through and finish it. And then it was really just money. The hardest part with this particular property, both when we bought it and when we refinanced it, is there are no comps. There hasn't been a duplex within 50 miles sold in the past 6 years at all. And there's not even the closest duplex even like was in Durham, which is a good hour or so away. So, even when it came to the possibility of like what our numbers will be, there was no clue. My agent had no clue. A couple of my investors will have no clue because there's literally nothing to base it off of. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to be out all this money and I can't recover. And we're in the middle of summer with the kids. And I don't know what we're going to do if I'm not working. I don't know what I'm going to do because we don't have all the financial money right now that we've sunk into this house. And I just want to be able to show my kids perseverance pays off. I think that was a big part of it, was pushing through to A, show them, and B, I don't know, like I said, I kind of lean still back on that pride thing of like, I'm not one to necessarily give up easy. I've always been an entrepreneur my whole life, and I like to see things all the way through. It was really hard, and I wouldn't have done it if my husband hadn't been supporting me the entire time, but I think it was just knowing I don't want to let myself and my family down. And that was the biggest motivator of just get through, just get through. Like, we're almost done. You already came so far and you already learned all these lessons. Like, you're learning them for a reason. If you want to be successful, you have to push through the bad. And that's, that's something I always tell my kids is like, if things were easy, everyone would do it. But if you choose to stop before things get hard, you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what pushed me through that.
Well, boy, did they learn those lessons from you. You
Oh,
definitely taught them that it's going to take hard work.
yes. Yeah, no kidding. No
Oh
kidding.
my gosh, they're gonna be the most realistic entrepreneurs in the world when they start buying their properties. They're gonna know
Oh,
going in how much work it takes. They saw it firsthand from you. But it's
yes.
cool that like your family acted as that kind of accountability group for you. You know, you
Yeah.
couldn't stop, you couldn't just give up because they were watching you and you had someone to answer to more than just yourself.
Hmm.
And that is incredibly powerful. And I feel like people just underestimate the power of family, friends, or just any accountability person in their life because that having eyes on you and checking you and also giving you that support, I mean, that's everything.
Yeah.
And it's incredible that like you had that and you were able to get through all of this because of them and for them at the same time.
Right.
I like
Yep.
that. Yeah, again, what McKenna said in the comments, you are amazing. I'll probably say that a few more times before we're done. But I
Oh,
would love to jump into the numbers. Can you kind of
yes.
go over what your estimates were, like what everything that you had, like, yeah,
Yes.
estimated and what it came out to and what it looks like now?
Yes. Absolutely. Okay. So I'll be looking off the side because I do have my laptop over here and I have it all written out. So, okay. So in December, purchased it for 157.5. And then I ended up doing hard money because, again, I don't have that kind of money, and there's no way it would have gone any other way. So I did get a loan amount, and we had it was originally a 55K rehab budget that was built in. We did have a 10% contingency, so an overall loan of about 230K. Um, and that was with a down payment of $48,000. So I did that $48,000, and then I had the loan of $230,000, and that had included that 60K rehab on top of the purchase price. So originally the rehab budget was supposed to be around that. It ended up actually being closer to $75,000 instead of 60. Well, 55 technically. So we definitely use that contingency, and then we ended up having to hold it for a lot longer than we thought. So our holding costs with the hard money lender and utilities and everything like that came to about $12,000. And then with all the other randoms, appraisal, inspect, all that other fun stuff was a couple hundred. So in total, rehab was 75,500. And then I did kind of keep the furnishing because I only furnished the 503 side separate. So the furnishing for that ended up being 7,500. So I think all together, if you're looking at it's like 82,000 for rehab and furnishing one side. And that does include, the appliances on the 501 side because those all stayed. Mm-hmm. So blew the budget about $22,000 and some change, which was rough. Originally, the ARV that I was looking at when I got into it was trying to target 300, 325. So I was hoping to be able to get in it, rehab it, then do the BRRRR method, right? Refinance, cash out, pull out, pay down the hard money lender, and do that. And then maybe walk away with, a couple thousand and have a property that was basically free. I have no money in it that was cash flowing. Mm-hmm. We had appraisal done, and this is like where I kind of feel like number wise it was amazing because originally, like I said, I wanted to target that 300K number. It ended up appraising. Hang on, I just lost it. Let's see. It ended up appraising for $453,000.
Whoa!
So again,
That's
bought
amazing.
at 157 and appraised less than a year later for 453. So that's like
Wow.
what, a 300K increase.
That's
So
that's awesome. That is
yeah.
amazing.
So I was shocked. I literally cried. I was like, they have it wrong. There's no freaking way that this appraised for almost half a mil. There's no way. It's only 1600 square feet. Yeah, I was in shock. I I called my husband and he was I'm like, I can't read this right. And I'm like, I opened up the appraisal, scroll through, I'm like, he mistyped something. And the appraisal that they give you is like 20 pages long, especially for mine because I had to do like a rent stuff on it.
Mhm.
And like something's wrong. He's missing it. Like I don't understand. This can't be right. I was like, maybe I just like it's a mistake and I stay quiet so I can get the cash out and not say anything, and then it's closed, and then not my problem kind of mentality.
Right.
I was like, oh my God. And it's a big reason why I honestly haven't publicly shared the numbers because it looks so braggy. It looks like I'm a freaking genius and I just made money up here out of nowhere. Like,
Oh my gosh.
it's insane. And I honestly didn't believe it until after we closed and got all the cash out and everything else because I was like, there's no way. And when I was looking through the appraisal, you have to pull comps, right? At least for them to look at the
Mhm.
numbers. And he did, and we got warned ahead of time because there wasn't any. So he's like, look, we are going to have to extend the search to 50 to 100 miles out because there simply aren't any. And luckily, this lender was okay with it. I think, yeah, that's fine because I'm going to hold it. Like,
Mhm.
if I was trying to flip it, we were going to have issues. And that was something we did talk about because there weren't any comps, like full on comps to support it.
Mhm.
And sure enough, I guess duplexes 50 miles away from here, so kind of go for those 400s more or less. Even though they're a little bit bigger than mine, it doesn't matter because there's simply no other comps.
Mhm.
So it just kind of skewed it. And the location that it is, and I was very intentional. Like I bought this because I knew where it was. It's next to my son's school. And they had just built two new subdivisions right behind it. And, it kind of was a blessing in disguise that the project got delayed 3 months because I think if we had gotten it appraised way earlier when those subdivisions weren't even done
Mhm.
yet, it wouldn't have appraised as high. But because when it appraised, those subdivisions were done and those houses were for sale, which made a new comp mark, which was a lot higher than I thought.
Mhm.
I think that helped skew the numbers quite a bit on what they were looking at overall numbers wise for the appraisal amount. So it was insane. Insane. So I think so once we paid off my hard money lender and everything else, we ended up making, and I'm a numbers person. I subtracted everything, like, my gas, all of that.
Mhm.
We ended up making $50,000 and $50,657.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we made that amount of money out of it, and we still have cash flow on both sides. So when I refinanced out, that my new loan now is 2,200 a month that I owe on it. My one side, my long-term renters pay 1375. So I needed to make sure at least the other side pulled, I think it's like 850 or something like that, about $900 or less to
Mhm.
just break even. Um, and right now, and again, I've only been running the Airbnb side for 2 weeks, but I do have November fully rented out for 28 days. I'm pulling in $2,200. So still cash flowing like, I don't know, $1,400 a month on top of having that house for basically getting paid to own that house, getting paid 50 grand to own it, which is insane.
Wow. No, no one is not. You that was rightfully deserved. Oh my gosh. After everything you went through, I mean, that is incredible. Wow. I mean, I feel like I don't know if you ever heard this before, but like the the intensity of the challenges you go through is a direct reflection of what's going to come after. And I feel like that just is so true for you because you went through such hard challenges and it really just paid off. I mean, you really put yourself out there, you took the risk, and the people who get the biggest rewards are the people who take the biggest risks. So you really did that, and that's incredible. And I love seeing those numbers. It makes me so happy too. Like, yes, because you deserve it. Oh my gosh,
Thank
you
you.
worked so much harder than other people, and you kept your like I don't know, like your humanity through it too, like you were like, you helped someone find a home through it. I mean, she changed a life. I mean, if anyone deserves to make money, it's you. So, like, it literally makes me so happy to hear those numbers. So, congratulations
Thank
on your
you.
success because that is
Thank you.
incredible. Oh my gosh.
Thank you. Yeah, it's
And
still crazy to believe.
and I can see why you said numbers wise you would do it again, but mentally
Yes.
wise, nah.
Yes. No, exactly. Like, oh my gosh, if I could duplicate this just simply based on numbers, I
Yeah,
could write a book. I would make, I'd be it.
right.
I'd figure out the secret sauce, but
Well, it's cool. So your
yeah.
duplex is a comp, right? So anything you
Yes.
buy in that area.
Yes. No, and it's super. And a property 2 streets down came up a few weeks ago, and it was like destroyed. Like the roof is literally flipping up. I was like, babe, I did it again. Like, no. I said, okay, fair. That's fair. Like,
Yeah.
I know what would go back into it, and I'm like, I was like, I mean, it's a full pregnancy. I mean, 9 months of just like BS.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, no, you're right. Like,
Yeah, a
like
beautiful little duplex come out.
exactly, exactly. Oh yeah,
Oh,
but yeah,
that's
no,
so
numbers wise, it was great. And with the profit, I'm rolling it into another property, so I'm supposed to close on another property in 2 weeks, give or take. Um,
that.
yeah, so this one is actually in Louisiana. So I have another property in Louisiana that I bought last year in November, and this one is a few blocks away from it. And my Louisiana properties are long term. They are right outside Air Force Base. So I've got military in them, which is great. I love military. They usually tend to be relatively clean, no issues. And they usually stay about 2 years unless they, get called off. And so far, I love it. The numbers work great in that area. It is low cost entry point, and you're still relatively able to hit the 1% rule. So those two properties are kind of my safe properties. If anything goes wrong, short term wise, midterm wise, that's a consistent numbers coming in. And like it's just consistent. And I always like having that safety net. So hoping we were originally supposed to close in 2 days, but it ended up getting pushed out because of a lot of things. And this property is actually in probate, so we're having to wait to hear back from the heirs and everything else. Yeah, it's crazy, the 1% rule.
I
It's
know,
insane
it's
over there.
unheard of.
It really is. And I got really, really lucky with this area, and my agent, she kind of doubles as my agent and my property manager ish, because I still manage it myself, but she's the one who's like on the ground and checks in every once in a while, which is really good. So it's rolling into another property, although with these interest rates, which suck,
Yeah.
but it's not cash flowing as hard. But my whole mentality into real estate in general is I'm holding. That's just I'm not.
Mhm.
I know I could probably make more money flipping and whatnot, and I like the mentality of holding it. That's how I've always kind of been with any type of financials. So we're just gonna roll into it. It's a boring one. I've never seen a property in person. I've never been to Louisiana in person. Like I manage out of state, and
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
pretty
incredible.
easy. Nothing too crazy.
So do you think you're gonna stay on this more long-term rental route for the foreseen future, or are you gonna try to jump back into one of these North Carolina duplexes again?
I think it kind of, and I say this, it kind of is going to depend on interest rates and financial stability, I guess. So, I always love having my long-term properties, especially because now they do actually pay off my HELOC because I do still have it. So I have my HELOC that's constantly
Mhm.
revolving. So at least I'm never going negative into any of my properties. And I automatically set aside 15% for all of my other expenses and whatnot. But I think if I were to do another short term or midterm, it would have to be local to me. I don't really trust a lot of people to do things to the degree that I would like them or want them to, especially out of state. And I feel like with midterm and short term rentals, I like to be involved
Mhm.
a lot. Long term is fine. I don't care. I check in on them every whatever few months, check in, say hi. Nothing crazy until we do inspection time. But um, I think maybe another short term and or midterm, either here in North Carolina or somewhere between us and Florida,
Mhm.
just to somewhat double as a vacation rental property. A, for numbers wise, like if we go in it as a vacation rental property versus a full on investment property, we can kind of get a little bit better numbers.
Yeah.
And B, we do have family in Florida. We drive to Florida at least 3 times a year. And having a place to go together as a family
Mhm.
and explore and have, not having to spend all this money or having to overrun, Nana's house and have all the grandkids everywhere and, you know, kind of going that route and maybe kind of, having some fun with it, more designing and whatnot. And I think that's kind of what I'll do. And then just if the deals keep happening with the long-term rentals in Louisiana, just keep adding them to the portfolio. But I don't really think I'm going to expand too much
Mhm.
um, outside of LTR for
Okay.
those.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. I'm like looking over all these. I'm still in shock by your numbers, and like literally, I can't stop smiling because it makes me so happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. And so, and I know I asked you this a little bit earlier about if it was worth it,
Mhm.
but I guess overall, do you feel like the journey that you went through and seeing the results now, do you feel like everything was worth it?
I do. Um, I mean, I usually, like I said, my mindset's always I'm good. If it's an issue, then it's a lesson. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like I'm not a negative thinker as much. Like I definitely run numbers and I can get negative self-talk, don't get me wrong, but like I'm always looking for something to learn or something to gain or something to keep pushing forward, right? And I think if I had to redo it again, I would. I mean, I would definitely adjust
Mm-hmm.
for sure. But it's definitely helped in a lot of ways that we aren't necessarily seeing yet. Like long term, like hopefully long term, my kids see what the effort is to do hard work,
Mm-hmm.
long term of getting them set up, at least my oldest one, getting them set up with already a Roth IRA at 11, later on, once that's compounded and he keeps contributing to it and understands the value of that, hopefully that'll pay off then,
Mm-hmm.
long term when my husband and I can retire earlier because we do have this cash flow because we made the numbers work ahead of time. As we hold on to our properties and we get more and more equity, hopefully we'll come to that point like, okay, we either come to the point we don't want to do this anymore and sell them all or, find something else to do. I think a lot of the reward is going to be heavier later on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the $50,000 is great short term, but with that just being the one perspective of it, and I think the key ones that I'm looking for again is more so for my kids
Mm-hmm.
of seeing what happens when you put things through it and not being so short-sighted
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to problems and to problem solve and to also rely on your team. You have a support system for a reason. You have family, you have people who are willing to help you, and it's okay to ask for help, and
Mm-hmm.
it's okay that you don't know what you're doing. That's the whole
Yeah.
point, is adjusting. So yeah.
I love how in depth you get in with your answers because it's so true. Because I feel like when normally you ask someone this, it really they just look at the numbers, but it's so much deeper than that. I mean, everything from like you said, from what you're teaching your kids, what you're just telling them to do, you're showing them what to do, and
Mhm.
all of the lessons that you've learned throughout this process, and that you're teaching them and everyone around you, not even just your kids, you're teaching all of us. Like the thousands of followers that you have on Instagram, all these random people like they've learned so much from you, and you give and you give and you give, and like I don't know. Thank you. You're amazing again. I'm just gonna say
You.
it. But no, this is incredible. So yeah, exactly what McKenna said last minute.
Oh,
Incredible. So I guess as we wrap up, is there any like last minute or anything you like? I know people are going to be taking away a lot from this live, but if they want them to walk away with one thing, what would you want it to be?
I mean, I think make sure you go in with a plan and a plan and a plan and a plan. Like, don't just quit if your first plan doesn't work because more than likely it may work for a little bit and then it won't. Like, you need to constantly be adjusting, and it's hard. It's not going to be easy. That's why most people give up. That's why, you're different than everyone else. Because if it was easy, so I tell my kids, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yep.
And it's worth doing things that are hard. I mean, you could live an easy life and be totally content, and that's fine. But I think personally, I want more out of it. And to get there, you have to do hard things. You have to continually push through. You have to be able to find the lessons in the failures. And I think that's the biggest thing is, even if you failed, there's a lesson there. It's not going to be on the top. You might have to dig down really, really deep to find it, but there's a lesson somewhere. And what you do with that information is going to define who you are. Whether you let that drown you and be like, wow, I'm a failure, this didn't work, or let it raise you up like, okay, this is going to be a stepping block. I know this. Now I can do something better to move forward, and kind of choose your way there.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I'm going to say it again. You're amazing. And I hope people take away everything that you've said and that they continue to follow your journey, because I love that you take us behind the scenes on all of your projects. And all of this was incredible. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing this all with
Thank
us.
you for having me. Thank you.
Just being a great person overall. The world needs more of you. So thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you again for having me and letting me share my stuff.
Of course. And if you guys are already following her, you can follow her on Instagram at Investing with Bree. And is there anything else, any other way that you prefer people to contact you if they have questions or want to work with you? Private money lenders, maybe? I don't know.
Honestly, Instagram is probably the
Yeah.
easiest way. Everything
Perfect.
else is a little chaotic without everything calendar-wise with kids. So Instagram's like my one, okay, this is my dedicated area. I can contact and get it all. So Instagram is where it's at.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much again for coming on and being just a genuinely amazing person. We all appreciate you, and I hope that you continue to brag about your numbers because you rightfully deserve it. So if anyone tries to say anything different, you send them to me or McKenna. We'll set them straight. So,
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And
of course.
yeah,
All
thank you.
right. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Sounds good. Bye.